The Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience Rocket Mortgage Classic First Look. We're going to go into the research from the weekend, look ahead to the field, preview the course a little bit. But first, before we dig into all of that, I might have a few notes about Sunday heading into the Travelers Championship. DraftKings, kind of a bust this week for everyone, unless you got if you got a 6 of 6, you're probably still alive at this point. At least to win like the Millionaire Maker right now. Less than 2% of lineups actually got 6 of 6 through the cut. I played 20 lineups. I had 1 5 of 6, and the rest were 4 of 6 and 3 of 6. That -3 really shook me. I had Finau, Bubba, and Scotty Scheffler all at the number. Had -3 have been the cut, yes, it would have went from like 1.8% 6 of 6 overall to like 7.5% 6 of 6 overall, but I would have had like 4. So it would have been nice. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Hopefully, Dustin can pull it out for us, but we'll get to that in a second. Remember to like the episode, smash the like button for the video. That goes a long way to help people finding the show. Spreading around the show also really helps as well. And give me your early lean in the comment section. That easy. Also, if you subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast, please just leave a 5-star review. You don't even need to write a review. You can leave a 5-star rating. Just scroll down on your phone, boom, 5 stars, be on your way. Takes less than 5 seconds. 5 seconds, 1 second per each star that it takes in the time to actually leave one of these ratings, and it tremendously helps out the show. If you are on that, by the way, and you want to hit the description of the podcast or video, you will find the link to the Pat Mayo Experience DraftKings Open for Rocket Mortgage. And this week, the tournament is bigger. It's filled as of, I believe, Tuesday morning, each of the last 2 weeks. It didn't get huge this week because this field, frankly, isn't all that strong. But it's up to $80,000 of guaranteed rake-free money. It's a 3-max entry. It's $15 to play. I suggest you go reserve your spot right now, even before the pricing comes up, because if you forget, the tournament will likely be filled. And the faster that we fill this tournament every single week, the bigger it's going to get. If Tiger does return in 2 weeks, for Memorial, or in 3 weeks for Memorial, we might be able to get up to 10K. I'm not promising that, but that is something that is on the table if we continue just to hammer home how big of a community this is in filling up that tournament. It should be a lot of fun, and hopefully we fare a little bit better on DraftKings next week than we did this week, unless you're out there, like I said, running with a 6 of 6, boom. Your money time right now. I don't know what it is in my tournament, the 6 of 6. I think it's around 4%. So expect some nice cashes up at the top there as well. You can find the Listeners League link in the description of the video or podcast. I'm going to be reviewing everything today using fantasynational.com. You use code MAYO or fantasynational.com/Mayo, and you'll get yourself 20% off. Why not do it? Millionaire Maker winner was a member this week. Hopefully, one of the members or viewers of this show ends up cashing that big $1 million ticket again this week. That'd be awesome. Show me those tickets, by the way. Review the pod. Oh, yeah, the ticket giveaway for the Millionaire Maker. I had 20 this week. They've been making me do it on Twitter instead of on Instagram or on the video or on the podcast, anything like that. It's the last 2 weeks. It's been Wednesday at noon on Twitter for like a 2-hour period to give away tickets. Hopefully they give me another 20 or more this week. If it's not filling so much, I'll probably get more than 20. If it's just a regular week, I'll probably get 20. Or if it's almost full, I might get 10. Who knows? They don't tell me this stuff in advance. They like email me on Tuesday evening being like, we got tickets for you. But that's what it's been for the past 2 weeks. That's like $400 to give away right there. So just pay attention to @thepme on Twitter around noon on Wednesday, and that's when the ticket giveaway will be. Normally, I do the live chat Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where I thoroughly enjoy to ban people for life, because it's a lot of fucking fun. Turns out people aren't actually banned for life. They're just banned for the rest of the chat, but they don't know that, and that makes it really all that much better. Also, we're not doing that this week. It's Canada Day on Wednesday. I am in Canada, therefore I would like to spend the day not working and with my family. So that's what I'm going to do. I will have a huge release of my fantasy football rankings on Wednesday morning. There's still going to be shows every single day. There just won't be a live chat. Monday with Feinberg. Tuesday, might call Rick this week. I don't know who I'm going to call this week. Probably Rick. I haven't had Rick on in a bit, but we'll be going over the DraftKings pricing football on Wednesday. I believe if everything goes correctly, we'll have a football show or Cuss Corner on Thursday and Friday. I am trying to figure out the order of that when I can get everything done, because I'm not coming in on Wednesday to cut all the stuff. One of the football shows is already done, so I might just fire that one up for Thursday morning. It's a good show. There's been a ton of football content recently. I've done all the player profiles for running back, a 4-part series with Meany and Joe Pisapia. We're through 3 parts of the wide receiver series with Meany and Jake Seeley. You can find all of that stuff up on the DraftKings YouTube channel and the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. So please, go find those, even if you don't fucking like football, which I'm sure you do, because basically everyone likes football at this point. It's football, and then like there's little branches of the other sports that everyone likes. Football is really the center of everything when it comes down to it, at least in this space, when it comes to fantasy and gambling and DFS, everything like that. So we've done all of those. Go download them if you haven't downloaded them already. Or if you ever see a show that pops up on the feed that you don't like, just download it anyway, then delete it. We need those downloads. Keep those downloads up. We're trying to pass the footballers. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. The Pat Mayo Experience, both in Canada and the US and worldwide, has been in like the top 4, top 3 of overall fantasy podcasts now for probably like the last half year, and we can't overtake the footballers. It's just not happening. It happened for one day in Canada like 3 months ago. I think it was the Players' Championship week, actually, right before COVID ended up shutting everything down. Hopefully, with football and golf simultaneously going, we can get to that number 1 spot. So those reviews and things like that really help a lot. So no chat, listeners league, review. How great was Saturday morning golf? I know it sucked to watch because of the weather, they had to push everything really early, and golf was concluded by like 1 p.m. Eastern time. I would take that. Maybe not 1 p.m. Eastern time and as early as it was starting, but start Saturdays at 9. Be finished by 3. Then you have the rest of your Saturday to go out and have some fun. And then Sunday you can run the normal times. I actually quite enjoyed it because the round is already over as I'm filming this, and I'm filming this on a Saturday late afternoon. We have a full complement of stats. If you want to enter the huge tournaments on DraftKings for round 4 Showdown, there's plenty of time to go get your lineups in, to do your research. And listen, I don't have a ton going on Saturday mornings. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not out doing a fun run or anything like that. I'm not going to brunch at this point. I'm like sitting there like mindlessly looking at the wall at 7 a.m., like trying to make sure my kids stay alive. That's about my Saturday morning at this point. Not quite what it was when I was 25, but if there was some PGA golf that I had some action on, then hey, now we're looking up. Now things are a bit more positive on a Saturday morning, and then by Saturday afternoon, it's all done. I'm either happy or sad or both, and then I can go out and enjoy the rest of my day. Take my son for a walk or something like that. I don't know. So I actually enjoyed that. I don't think we'll see that all too often. Then you can just get Sunday, run it back at the normal time. I would petition that. Let me know if you guys actually do enjoy that. I'm curious to know if that was just me or if it was everyone. Sometimes I don't have the best sense of these things. Not like to a cussed level, but just in general. Maybe it's just me being selfish that I just was up and watching it, so it was great. This week, actually, for travelers, I know a lot of us, myself included, have Dustin tickets out there. And I've been getting a lot of questions of whether you hedge or not on Brendan Todd. You can hedge on the Todd father because we've seen the Todd father twice this season already go close. It was against lesser competition than like DJ coming to get us, and with Rory lurking and Bryson lurking and all of these guys. Right now I'm seeing it plus 150, plus 175. I think I looked at Data Golf, and Data Golf has him around, I think like 46% to win, something around that line. So the odds aren't quite there to bet on Todd. And the biggest thing, like I remember having Bubba at this tournament 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was, when he stormed back and won. I had him and JB Holmes, and they were all trying to chase down Paul Casey. I think Paul Casey had a 4-stroke lead, and guess what? Paul Casey didn't play great on Sunday. I think he shot an even par, and Bubba stormed him, and Bubba just came back. So when you look at the leaderboard for this event, you have, obviously, Brendan Todd up by 2 on DJ, who's a few clear. Streelman's right there, but he's a few clear of Bryson and Rory and these guys back in the pack. But I think that we've seen a 59 this week. We've seen a 61 this week. So a 59, 60, or 61 could be out there for one of these guys in the top 20. If they fire one of those, if Todd stumbles a little bit, and by stumbles, I mean shoots like a 69 or a 68 or something, they could come back and win this. I mean, it would take DJ to falter as well. A lot of things need to go wrong. But all I'm saying is that if you hedge your DJ money onto Brendan Todd right now, you might just be in the realm of having a double loser on your hands because it's not a guarantee that Todd's going to win if DJ doesn't. Both those guys may not win. So what I did is I looked at my overall. In full disclosure, I have $70 on DJ this week at 30-1, so it pays $2,100. And I took 4% of that $2,100, which is around, I believe, what is it, like $80? I put $80 and spread it out on the each ways for Stallings, Kazire, and Sungyeol. Was it Sungyeol? No. Now I can't even remember who it was. Now I got to go look this up. But anyway, it was an 80-1, an 80-1, and 100-1. Kazire was 100-1. Stallings was 80 to 1. And who was it? It was Sung Yul No was the other guy. He's also 80 to 1. So what I ended up doing was the site that I use has the each way, but it's a top 3 each way right now. So 1/5 of those odds to come inside the top 3. So ideal situation is that Dustin ends up winning and Kazire and Stallings come 2-3, and then I'm just get triple paid, which would be nice. The reason I did that is because I know that there's going to be chasers. All these guys' ball striking numbers are all pretty good. Like, they could all make the run. It's not inconceivable that these people can come back and win the tournament. I'm far more terrified of Todd running away or Bryson winning or Rory coming back and storming or Hovland just having a nuclear day and actually hits a 4-foot putt. All that stuff's on the table, but those guys are all properly priced. Like, even Kevin Nas, like 16 to 1. Like, I wanted to take a longer shot because it's not costing me too much of my DJ money. And these guys all might lose anyway. So basically it just doubles my bet on DJ. It goes from 70 to like up to 150. Now, if I lose that, it sucks. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like I'm laying down 600 on Brennan Todd to have the hedge and then watch them both lose. Then I'm just sitting here being like, oh, shit. I've made that mistake in the past. And I don't want to go back to that. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way to do it. And listen, if you hedge on Todd and Todd wins, you're going to look like a genius. But I'm just saying that over 50% of the time, Todd's not going to win. Now, Todd and DJ probably win. I think the total win equity is like 60%, but that still leaves 40% of the time that someone else comes back and wins. And we know that the course can go low here. It does look like the conditions are relatively benign on Sunday, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully DJ just wins. That would be fantastic. And if you get into a situation where DJ starts taking off a little bit and he catches up to Todd and he and Todd are like 1-2 and they're like 3 strokes clear or 4 strokes clear of everyone else on like 7, 8, or 9 or just heading into the back 9, then all of a sudden, then you can make the hedge. Then you know you have the 2 guys that are isolated. They're up by enough that it's going to be pretty rare that anyone is going to come back and actually storm them. You're probably going to know pretty early if anyone's going to go have one of these rounds because so many people. There's like, I think it's like 16 people are at -11 or better, and that would be the range that I would be looking at of the potential for someone to. It's unlikely, as I just told you the percentages, but it could happen. So I would just watch out for that. That's why I took the 180 and 80, that even if these guys get back into it, it only cost me $80 or 40% of what I would end up winning. Now, if these guys end up winning, they cash their each way. They cash their overall ticket. I mean, it's still a really nice payday. For one thing, you get the 100 or the 80 or the 80 just overall. But if one of these guys gets back in the mix, just one of them, it does give you a better hedge situation too. That let's say it is Kazire who ends up coming up to run with DJ and Todd falters back a little bit, or it's the 3 of them, then the numbers on Todd get a little bit worse. Then you have more money to play around with. So instead of having like an $1,100 hedge on whoever it is to get like half your money back, all of a sudden you need to, if you wanted to straight hedge it, you'd only have to put like 200 down in order to make everything work out with the way that these guys pay out, or you just let it ride and say, hey, I have 2 of these 3 guys, or I have both. If DJ wins, it's more, but if one of these guys wins, it's really nice too. That's my strategy. I'm not saying it's right, but that's what I'm doing this week, and I just want to be transparent with everyone. Watch them all lose. Watch Todd go shoot like 61, and I'm just like, well, move on to Rocket Mortgage, which we shall be doing right now. For the first time since COVID break hiatus has ended and golf is back. This is the 4th tournament. It's the first time we're not getting all the big boys. So when we look at the overall world rankings, no Rory, no Rahm, no Justin Thomas, no Brooks. The top-ranked player in the field will be Webb Simpson, who withdrew this week due to COVID concerns. He doesn't need to self-isolate because obviously he did not have it. So he's back in the field this week. So it's Webb, Bryson, Reed, Ricky, Hideki, Sungjae, Hatton, Bubba, Finau, Big, Dick, Vic. Make some, save your putts for next week, Vic. I might have to be on you here, although his price is going to be so short. EVR, Day, Nah, Rafa, C, Woo. Donald Ross course, so watch out for Siwoo. Pete Dye, Donald Ross, these classical weird courses Siwoo can show up. I wish Siwoo would have made a putt on Saturday. Like, he could have got himself to 12 under pretty easily when all was said and done. Then you just have one of these scorching rounds to go on. One thing before we end up, I said that Genesis would be a good crossover, and we've seen a little bit of that play through. Like, Kang's having a good week, Stallings is having a good week, obviously DJ is having a good week. RSM is kind of sneaky when you look at the leaderboard as well. Like, Mac Hughes has won that event in the past. Todd made a huge run at it. This time around, Duncan actually ended up making the cut too. That field is really weak, so I didn't know if you could really glean much from it or if it would cross over at all. But I thought it was relatively interesting to see some of those names actually pop up. So let's jump over to Fantasy National. DraftKings.com. There we go. There we are. Fantasy National. It's all loaded in right now anyway. The Rocket Mortgage Field. Again, fantasynational.com/Mayo gets you 20% off of the tools and the research and everything you want going into it. I mentioned this is a Donald Ross course, like Sedgefield and Eastlake and a few other ones that pop up from time to time. So if you under Architect, Donald Ross is actually one of the ones that's up there. So I just want to click that right off the hop to just give me an impression of who historically plays well at these courses. Now, a lot of the people in the field will not have played Eastlake because that's where they have the Tour Championship, but where this is not that strong for the Rocket Mortgage, not close to as strong as any of the past 3 weeks. Just with the top end talent not being there. I'm going to sort by tee to green and just see who's been the best on Donald Ross courses. Oh, Hideki always shows up. Let's go last 24 rounds. The last 6 tournaments, maybe a bit more if they've missed the cut somewhere. Let's see. Tee to green, Rory Sabatini, Josh Tita, who showed up here last year, Matsuyama, CT Pan, Hovland, Kyle Stanley. Kyle Stanley, someone really interesting to watch. When we look back at the stats this week, he finally started putting in round 3 on the front 9, kind of lost that ability a little bit on the back and put it in the water on the par 5 and ended up bogeying. But his irons and his driving was back to where it normally was, like historic baseline when Stanley was good, that if you can start making some putts, watch out for Kyle Stanley. Duffner, Armour, Webb. So if guys have played well, Bubba is up there as well. JJ Spawn, maybe you won't go like 38 over through the first 9 holes this week and see what happens. Lashley ran away with this last year. It's actually, if we click on the past course conditions, and then we'll take a look at the breakdown. It's only been here 1 year, TPC, or the Detroit Golf Club, sorry. It's a mix of 2 courses put into one for this. We're on bent grass with Poa Trivials. Scoring was super easy last year. They're going to grow the rough up a little bit this time, but I still think it's going to be an absolute shootout. Ball strikers, guys just gives birdie chances. Who can roll in the most putts? That's essentially what happened last year, except for Nate. Nate Lashley's a really interesting case when we go and look at it. Let's see. Do I have it up here? Yeah. So Nate Lashley wins by 6 at minus 25, 63, 67, 63, 70 on the final day. Beats Doc Redman. Nate Lashley was an alternate last year. He became the first alternate to win on the PGA Tour since Von Taylor in 2016 when he outran Phil down the stretch at Pebble Beach playing with like the weird bag that like I would give my son to go play with at like the crappiest course ever. And he ended up winning. Great day for Von Taylor. It really got him back onto the scene. He's really ran away with that now. And just look at the top of this leaderboard. Lashley, Redmond, Sabatini, Wes Roach, Cameron Tringali. Reed is up there. Neiman's up there. Sneds. Sneds is a guy who's won at Wyndham, and he has actually won at Eastlake in the past as well when he won the Tour Championship. Poston has won at Wyndham. 2, Byung-Hun was actually the guy that Poston beat last year at the Wyndham Championship, and looked like he got it back together a little bit this week. But again, this field wasn't very strong. And as an alternate, I can't completely remember. I'll go select view, DraftKings scoring. I don't think Nate Lashley was in the system on DraftKings last year. I remember he was not in the first round leader market, and he wasn't. He was not on DraftKings last year, and he won. He was that late of an add to the field. Redmond was actually a Monday qualifier, so at least he was in. So Lashley, like I said, it didn't really do anyone any good, so Lashley killed all the first round leader bets because he won. He wasn't even eligible to be bet. And I don't think that he was included in the outright bets for the tournament before the tournament actually went off. I think he was added somewhere through round 1. So that's really interesting to look at. Who had the most points? Obviously, it was Lashley. Lashley, Redmond. Sneds actually scored really well when it came down to it with bonuses and birdies. He had 14 in bonuses overall and outscored his position. Who else did pretty well in terms of that based on where they went? Jason Kokrak came 29th, but scored 95 DraftKings points. That's interesting to see. Aaron Wise, who looked a little bit better this week at Traveler, scored 88 points despite coming 35th. Cameron Champ, he also scored 88 points. He came 46. When we go back in and take a look at the course breakdown, and honestly, it's a 1-year sample, and if they do grow the rough up, maybe it plays a little bit differently. But overall, Detroit Golf Club is a par 72, 7,340 yards, 156 players in the field. So expect another like 3%, 6 of 6, especially if some of the chalk ends up missing when it comes down to it. And you'll just see how it goes. This is where you're going to be looking holes 3, 4, and 5. If you're looking for birdie streaks, that's probably where they're going to happen the most, as you see 26, 30, and 23% birdie rate. This longer par 4 is one of the hardest, but if you can somehow find a way to be the 11% of the field that birdies that, then you get the second easiest hole on the course, the par 5, 360 yard, where 2.6% eagle rate. So we're back to the first time having 4 par 5s on a course, which is really interesting. But it seems like 2 of them are pretty gettable in terms of eagles. Hole number 7, 560 yards, and hole number 17, the easiest hole on the course, a 3.1% eagle rate last year. They're all really easy. They're the 4 easiest holes on the course. But if you can squeeze an eagle or 2 out of it, then, hey, all of a sudden you're looking a whole lot better. The par 3s are a bit tough. The first and fourth are the 2 that are over 200 yards, holes 9 and holes 11. Last year, when we look at top 10 finishers, off the tee didn't really mean so much. Approach, everything, and then a whole bunch of putting. These are never the tournaments that I love, the one where whoever has the hottest putter ends up winning. I like the weeks where I think it was the Rocket Mortgage before they moved to this course, and Kyle Stanley won, and he actually won the tournament losing strokes putting. That's my style of tournament, when you can be so good at ball striking that it doesn't even really matter. Scoring on par 4s, very essential this week. So when we look at the whole composition, you have 4 from 450 to 500, and then you have 3 each, 3 below 400, 3 from 400 to 450. So it's pretty balanced out. If I go back and look at my model from last year, one thing you can do, and I haven't been doing this, why do I have Mark Hubbard? Mark Hubbard already started, don't even remember doing it. Maybe that's a premonition that Mark Hubbard's the guy to go out and get this week. He's been playing well, like my guy, Mark Hubbard. But one of the things that you can do once you have it set what you're looking at, so I have Donald Ross clicked right here as an architect. Do I want to go tee to green? I would think here that tee to green will likely, and let's go back to that breakdown for a second. Around the green meant more than off the tee to save yourself a little bit, but I still think that I would want to go with ball strike. Let's look at the top 5 and see how they did. Yeah, it's almost as pronounced that way. Let's go to top 20 and see how that ended up going out. It's a bit more flat, and then the putting came out. Either way, I'll just be heavily weighting approach. I'll probably be putting in a little bit of putting. We'll go back and review my model from last year. As I recall, I think I was swept in all my money off this tournament last year because I didn't have, obviously, any Lashley, but I didn't have any Teeter or Wes Roach, who I believe were trendy sleepers that week, and I just didn't use them because I'm an idiot. But I never add stuff to my mixed condition model, which is something you can do. So I have it on the Donald Ross settings. I have it on last 24 rounds if I want to look at that. So if I add the column to my mixed condition model, and this is separate from the actual model, I want to go by, let's say, strokes gained approach on these courses, and I can just put in the little identifier. So last 24 Ross courses. And I'll add it to my mixed condition model. Now, you can go through this and add as many things as you want. I always just kind of forget to do it every single week because I'm an idiot, like I said. And sometimes I get more into doing the shows than putting in 100% of the research. That's why I really like doing these shows, is it jars my memory when everything is coming up. Let's check out my model from last year and see how it ended up going. Detroit, sad. With 3 exclamation points, tee to green, ball striking approach, eagles. Lashley actually rates very highly in eagles, 450 to 500 par 4s, par 5s. Probably too much stuff on here. Opportunities gained, I probably should have waited a little bit more. So let's just kind of chuck something out there and see what happens. I'll keep tee to green in. I'm going to levy down ball striking. I'll put that at 10%. Both of those still include approach. I'm going to jump up approach to 25. I'm going to measure birdies or better gain down to 5% and move up, 8%. What was I thinking? We'll put this down. We'll put par 5s down, as we saw that par 4 scoring is more important than par 5 scoring because the par 5s are so easy. A lot of guys do that, and hopefully we can recoup a lot of the real damage, at least DraftKings-wise and scoring-wise, can be done with the eagles that will weight at 5%. And let's jump up opportunities gained. If you're not familiar with opportunities gained, it's a stat from FantasyNational.com which measures all greens in regulation, greens under regulation, or fringe in regulation that is within 15 feet of the hole on an approach. We've quantified that as a birdie opportunity. And I just want if this is going to be an absolute shootout, then I want the guys that have the most. 95. I still have 5 to go around here. Maybe we can add something back a little bit. Let's just jack up approach to 30. It's going to give us a very poor sample of the guys who've just been hot with their irons lately. Let's see what it spits out for us here. Let's go back and look at last year's too. So I did the DraftKings scoring. Let's actually look at the strokes gained and see how people got there. Maybe we can decipher something a little bit, or maybe it's the one-year outlier. Like I said, maybe last year is not going to have anything to do. Ooh, Brian Stewart T5 last year? Brian Stewart's been playing really well. He's a Michigan guy too. I think he's from just outside Jackson, Jackson, Michigan, I think Brian Stewart is from. Again, like I said, he's having another good week at Travelers here. Let's see how he's done the last 2 weeks. Stumanji, 52nd at Heritage, 43rd. Well, he's made the cut twice. All right, not bad for Brian Stewart. I mean, we're not going to have the depth of field that we normally do here. So it's going to be interesting to look at when that comes out. Let's go back to this now. So I have it for the past 24 rounds, custom stat model. What are we looking at here? My rank so far: Matsuyama, Bryson, Webb, Hatton. Well, 4 of the best 8 players in the field. That shouldn't be too shocking. I think I have Donald Ross turned off. I do. Other Donald Ross courses, there was a Northern Trust held at... I forget what it's called now. It was a few years back. Pinehurst, number 2. I think that was the site of the 2014 U.S. Open. Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed's really interesting here. I think Patrick Reed's going to be my bet next week. He hasn't quite put it all together, but he's still first in birdies or better gain, which is really nice to see. He's good at these short par 4s. Where does he really lack? He doesn't make a ton of eagles. You can kind of cut him some slack on that one. And opportunities gained, he's not huge on, but his strokes gained approach is top 25 in the field over the past 24 rounds. He's top 10 tee to green. And we know that he's been putting the lights out. Maybe I'm going to go back and put putting into this a little bit, just because it rated so highly. Maybe I can catch a hot putter on someone. So let's decrease the 5 on ball striking. I need to add strokes gained putting. One thing I do, as I mentioned last week, we'll jack that up to 5. Is just sometimes I'll load stuff into the model that I weight at 0%, just so I can compare it. Like, even if I want to throw like fairways gain, which is our metric for driving accuracy, just to see. Like, it can't hurt to throw in. It's weighted at 0. It just gives you something else to look at when it goes down. But Patrick Reed is a guy I think I'm going to give a strong look to, and I bet you he'll be undervalued. If I had to guess the odds right now, Webb and Bryson are likely to be the 2 favorites coming in. And if, like, Todd ends up winning this week, he's in the field again. If anyone this week in the field wins, I think that they'll be jacked up. If it's someone like Todd, he'll probably be like 35, 30, 28 to 1, that range. I bet Bryson and Webb will be like 10, 12, 14 to 1. Ricky will probably be priced higher than Reed because he's a Rocket Mortgage guy. People like to bet Ricky, so I'd almost like Reed to have a bit of a dismal day on Sunday at Travelers. Just kind of keep him around, like an even par, something like that. And maybe we can get him at like 25 to 1. Even at 25 to 1, he wins more than that. Like, you should almost be auto betting Patrick Reed every single week. Good form, bad form, it doesn't really matter. He wins more often than his actual odds almost ever are because he's never the favorite. Finau will be high. Bet you Hovland will be around 30. Hatton. Bubba's really interesting, too. He plays these classical courses really well. Sungjae and Hideki will probably both be in that 20 range as well. So it's another nice opportunity. It'd be really nice if we could hit DJ this week and just have so much money to play with. That'd be great. So if we look at it, who were the leaders in strokes gained approach last year? Danny Lee, Teeter, Reed, Kokrak, Stanley. So this is what I like to see. So someone like Kokrak, who burned me again this week, tee to green, he was 8.1. Was that the most of anyone? It was not. Wes Roach, Kokrak, Lashley, Tringali, 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, Kokrak, per usual, sucks at putting and sucks around the green. That's kind of his MO. Maybe it's a week he can get the ball striking up even a little bit higher. Hard to do better than last year, mind you. But even if you just neutralize your putter a little bit, I mean, that's good for almost 4 strokes on the field. So add 4 strokes to his score. All of a sudden, he's not 29th. He's up around 10. Maybe he has a good week on the greens. All of a sudden, you're looking pretty good. Redmond putted. Who just putted the lights out? Brian Stewart, 10 strokes putting. So that's how he came T5 last year. The Gooch, Jimmy Walker, Sneds. I mean, that's going to happen with Sneds every now and again. Straka, not usually the strongest of all putters. He's up there. Of course, Denny. Oh, hi, Denny. He's going to be killing it from time to time. All right, so this is interesting to see just from last year. So approach again. Who were the guys who lost the most? Smiley Kaufman made the cut at this tournament last year. It's funny to see Harris English lose so many strokes. He's a different player than he is right now. He had all the buzz, obviously, coming out of the break, going into Colonial. He missed the cut. Everyone was all pissed off as a chalk player. The next week at Heritage, he actually showed up and played really well. So maybe it's a nice spot to go back to Harris English. I bet you he'll be priced around like 50. And in this field, 50 is probably a fair number for him, only because the top end guys aren't there. He could win something like this if he continues to play as well as he has been. So Lee, Teeter, Reed, Kokrak, Stanley. Hey, Kyle Stanley didn't gain much off the tee, but he should with the way that he's trending up, and gained strokes putting last week. That's always really good to see. Cam Smith, Neiman. How was Hovland last year? Hovland, where are you at? Vic. Nice putting. You bring that putting again this week, next week, Big Dick Vic. you're probably going to win. Not going to lie to you. Hoagie, always decent at approach. Sungjae lost strokes putting. His ball striking just overall really hasn't been all that good the past 2 weeks, but he did manage to screw everyone who wanted him to miss the cut to even decrease the number of players with 6 of 6 lineups. But he got himself through and then played immediately poorly on Saturday. JB Holmes, really good at short par threes. I don't believe he's in the field this week, though. He hasn't returned yet. He had brain surgery so long ago, so I doubt we see him much until the pandemic or vaccine has come around. I just don't think that he would want to make himself susceptible to COVID. Someone who's been through a major procedure and had such health problems like he's had in his life, there's probably the guy's a millionaire. He probably doesn't need to risk that after going through such a traumatic thing in the past before. Ben Ann, here we go. Oh, man, I'm going to bet Ben Ann he's going to shoot like +7 on the front 9. Fucking know it. Happens all the time. Anyway, let's go back to that model and just see how it's rejigged now with 5% putting put in. Bryson, Webb, Hatton, Hideki, Im. Varner drops down 1. Reed moves up a few to 7 over the past 24 rounds. Scheffler, Redmond. Let's just look at past 24 rounds. It won't even give us, and we don't have the stuff loaded in yet from Travelers, because obviously Travelers is not finished. So the first 2 events, this will just be, I'm just going to go last month. It's obviously the last 2 weeks that it's going to pop up for. But that's going to be Heritage and Colonial, just to see post-break who's doing the best in these numbers. Bryson, Peter Uline, Webb, Doc, Hovland, Thompson, Hadley, Bubba. Bubba is really interesting next week. Only because everyone was kind of on him. Didn't play all that great at Travelers at a Bubba happy place, but I think that the combination of him missing the cut, being relatively chalky, and people don't like playing Bubba because he's so unpredictable. He might be a nice bet again next week. I know he's never won here. He's not real keen on winning at new courses, but this could be a spot for him. I don't hate it. Did he play this last year? No, I can't even remember. My mind is just so, let's see, 7th, 52nd, miscut. That's not great, obviously. So Rocket Mortgage missed the cut here last year. Horrible on approach, but at least the approach has been a little bit better coming in. Gained over 2.5 each of the past 2 weeks. We'll go dig in to this week's tournament, at least the live leaderboard, to see how we did. Oh, Norlander? Norlander made the cut this week as my min guy, $6,000. Just really wish my $8,000 guys would have shown up. The Glove did not have a good Saturday, but he got himself through the cut. This could be a good Hadwin course. As well. Who's always up there in Eagles, at least since we've been back? McNeely, Redmond. Put it this way, looking at 2 tournaments worth of Eagles gained probably is not a great sample. Let's go back to all records again over the past 24 rounds, and let's look at it more of a baseline. Let's go last 75 rounds for all these guys. And we'll jump back over to the leaderboard from last year. Around the green, did anyone get especially lucky? Colley, Fratelli, Snedeker, a lot of chipping in going on for Snedeker. He is good around the greens, but the combination of 4 strokes gained around the green and 7.5 on the greens, probably not going to repeat itself. I'm not going to lie to you. Tringali did not play well at Travelers after pulling out of Heritage. Did show up here, so that's somewhat interesting. Redmond, wow, look at all those strokes putting. There we go, Doc Redmond. Show up again next week, and we'll be fine. He was a hot sleeper. He still has a chance to churn out his top 20 this week. We'll see if he can get the hot putter going a little bit. Reed was just kind of good across the board. The tee to green, off the tee game has been better overall. Hoffman played better at Travelers as well, so maybe he's turning his game around a little bit. Obviously, on Monday's show with Feinberg, I'll have more research done. I'll have the final stats from Travelers to check a lot of this stuff out. Jump back, last 75 rounds, all record, so going to last 75 overall for all the players to see how they kind of rate out. Webb, Hideki, Hovland, Bryson, Im, Reed, Tringali, Brian Harmon, who screwed a lot of people this week, although he finished at -2. If he had finished at -3, he'd be just as tilted, so don't worry about it. Scheffler, Munoz, Eric Verhooyen, Emiliano Grillo, Terrell Atten, Lashley. Lashley pops up now. Thanks for popping up now, and you weren't in the system last year. Sab, so it's a lot of guys. I don't have Ross clicked anymore. No, so these guys are popping up, even though we're not on a Donald Ross only settings, but you see some of the Donald Ross guys actually pump out in terms of my rankings. So hopefully I'm on the right wavelength now that I've rejigged the stats a little bit, and maybe it's completely wrong. Maybe that's not the way it plays out. Opportunities gained over the past 75. Hideki, Grillo, Hovland, Bryson, Hudson, Swafford, Matt Every, Hoagie's in there, Bronson Burgoon. I always liked opportunities gained for, especially like I mentioned, this tournament where it's going to be so low in terms of scoring, But also for first round leaders, this is something that you can go look at too. So Eagles gained is what I really wanted to look at. Burns, Stallings, Scheffler, Seifert. Oh, Chase Seifert's back. Seamus Power, who has been playing poorly on the Korn Ferry Tour. List, Wallace, Grillo, Norlander, Bubba. So it's funny how that doesn't necessarily correlate with driving distance, because you'll see someone like Webb Simpson, 12th in Eagles gain, longer off the tee than you'd think, but not someone who would pop up. Man, I'm going to bet Mark Hubbard next week. Great. Hubbard and, I better win this week. I'm going to lose everything I own next week. Birdies are better gained over that same stretch. Reed near the top. So let's see. Early leans, Reed, and as probably that mid-tier, like 60 to 1 guy, 50 to 1 guy. Hopefully we get him a bit deeper. Reed, and Hubbard, I think would be my 3 from each of the ranges right now. Obviously, I'm probably going to change my mind on all that. But these, looking at it at least recently, the past 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, I was on Webb as sort of my early lean. And Webb is going to be perfectly suited for this course next week. If he's 16 to 1 or better, I'll probably end up betting him as well and just make him my very top-end guy. But Reed and Hubbard. I had DJ last week when I was looking at it, and we went through just how well he had finished tee to green and in ball striking, and no one had really made note of it. I'm curious to see how Bryson does on this course. Will the extra length really help him here? The approach has been really good this week. So let's jump back and take a look at, let's see, Travelers DraftKings so we can get our access to the in-tournament stats. Close out all of this stuff. We let that loaded. Oh, the custom stat model I now have loaded for Rocket Mortgage is now loaded for Travelers. Fun times had by all. In-tournament stats. We'll see how we're doing here. All right. So if we look at round 3 only, let's see how Todd and Dustin actually got there. Switch it over to total. You can see the guys I have highlighted, not very good. I think I do have a 5-6 lineup that has Dustin, Sergio, Vegas, Leishman, and Glover. And if those guys want to have a nice day tomorrow, I might be able to recoup, like I said, 60% of my money or something like that, which would be a big win for me this week. The approach guys, DJ, Kazire. That's why I went with Kazire. If you can keep these irons going, he didn't make any putts today that, I don't know, crazier things have happened. He's won on the PGA Tour before. I believe he won at RS. Did he win at RSM? Is he an RSM guy or did he win the OHL? No, he won OHL and Sony, I think was his jam. Let's see his best finishes ever. See, Sony, OHL, yeah, RSM, 15th. So he's been up there as well. Interesting with Patton Kazire. He used to be good. Maybe he's coming back. Who knows? Poor Vic. Big Dick Vic couldn't make a putt. Varner couldn't make a putt. Stewart, good day on approach, good day around the greens. He also, Russell Henley for Showdown on Sunday, gained ball striking 2.1 strokes, lost 5.5 on the greens. I wonder if Sergio lost as many because he missed 4 putts inside 5 feet today. Oh, he only lost 3.6. That's a horrible day on the greens for Russell Henley. I know he's 59th, so you're not going to get any of the bonus points, but if he could be the one that goes and puts up the 62, you'll probably end up needing him anyway. Lowry was bad today. Anyway, I just want to look at all rounds, and we can go sort by almost the guys that missed the cut to see how they did this week. All right, so let's take a gander here. Austin Cook, terrible. Not so hot on the approaches this week. So, yeah, so we'll scroll down to the 999 guys and just take a look. So we have off the tee, we have approach. Approach is what we want to lean on a little bit more and see if someone just kind of took themselves out of a tournament. Vijay Singh gained on approach, minus 6.3 putting. He is statistically the worst putter on tour over the past 50 rounds of anyone who was in this field. Not surprisingly, Ben An and Emiliano Grillo were the next two to him. Ryan Moore, okay, so this is interesting. Ryan Moore for next week. He missed the cut on the number, lost almost 2 strokes putting, gained off the tee, gained on approach. I'm going to write down Ryan Moore. He's almost won at Eastlake. Has he won at Wyndham in the past? I believe he's had some good Wyndham championship numbers as well. Let's go see here. What have we been doing? Well, the approach has been horrible. And he turned that around this week. And, historically speaking, when we look at his approaches, he's good on approach. He's usually good off the tee. The tee has been there. The approach has not. He got the approach back this week over 2 rounds. That's good to see. Maybe he's a better bent putter than anything. Well, he's positive on bent. He's positive on POA and nothing on Bermuda. So that's also good news. Wyndham Championship, 6th, 24th, 53rd, 10th, 37th. Like that. Tour Championship, 2nd and 3rd. He's a Donald Ross player. We're adding Ryan Moore to the list. Boom. There we go. Watch him put himself out of another tournament. Thanks for nothing, pal, is what I'll probably end up going to be saying. But hey, I like the way that it's shaping up already for Ryan Moore. Finau didn't really do much. Let's see. That's around the green. So lost on approach. Thomas lost on approach. Bad week for Justin Thomas. You give. It's funny because a lot of people, a lot of first-time players are coming into DraftKings right now into betting, and like they are so bewildered when they don't get 6 of 6 through, and like when you're not used to playing golf and you don't get all like you take someone like Justin Thomas who's super high price and he's horrible and misses the cut. I mean, 2.5 strokes on approach might be one of his worst in his career through 2 rounds. 5.5 on the greens. That happens to Justin Thomas sometimes. He's not always the greatest putter. So then the people like freak out. It's kind of funny to see. I'm not going to lie to you. The same people that get banned for life in the chats. Like these are the types of people I'm talking about here. Bubba Watson tee to green. Let's see. 1.5 around the green, 2.5 off the tee, lost on approach. But he had been positive on approach the 2 weeks before, 3.5 strokes lost putting. I could see myself going back to Bubba if the price is right or the odds are right. So Moore gaining a bunch. Schwartzel, who was Ben Roz's boy this week. It's nice to see that he popped up in approach. That's good to see. Oh, James Hahn! 1.6. Here we go. Maybe Hahn is someone who will probably be right around the min. He was 62 this week. Yeah, let's see it. I don't know exactly if these guys are definitely in the field because I don't have it sorted that way, but he's someone to keep on the radar. Maybe try to chuck him in a little bit. Cameron Percy, bad off the tee, good on approach, terrible on the greens. All right. Corey Connors, not surprisingly, lost putting. He'll do that. But 2.5 on approach after a pretty bad day one. I'm going to say Connors. I want to go look at his round by round splits to see if how much was influenced by round 1 versus round 2. My guy, Neesmith, he was a very popular sleeper this week at $6,600. As you can see, the star next to his name, I was on him at $6,600. Gained 3.5 strokes on approach. Like bad off the tee, bad putting, bad around the green. Doesn't excuse him coming even for the week and missing the cut. I would have preferred he make the cut, but that is a really encouraging number. And the one thing that you notice is that when a Webb Simpson or a Sung J M has a bad week and their price drops a little bit, people go back to them because they know that they're good players. Someone like Matthew Neesmith, the inventor of basketball, probably not someone people are going to go back to after he was chalk and busted out. So that's always someone I kind of like to go with. List gained ball striking, lost putting. No big shocker there. Oh, Bud Cauley gained on approach. That's pretty interesting to see. I like to see that. Who else? Munoz. Munoz rated out really well on that model, too. And CT Pan, who was a Ross specialist. Both missed the cut, both gained on approach. All right, so we've got a short list of guys. We added Ryan Moore to the potential bet list as we go through. Overall, for all rounds during the week. Oh, yeah. Now I've done it. Let's see who's gotten there. No surprise. We have... Here's the big thing with Dustin. So Dustin last week was second in off the tee to Brooks Koepka at Heritage. This week he's 1.3. You see Bryson got it back together a little bit this week, or this round, in round 3. DJ has been killing it with his irons. He's been putting pretty well. Although it's funny that Todd's only gained 2.5 strokes putting for the tournament. He must have lost a bunch in round 1 because it felt like he made every single putt on Saturday. DJ did the exact same thing, mind you, but it just felt like Todd was better than this number, which means he can still go up from here, which is really terrifying. I would like to see those approach. How is it that I bet Brendan Todd and used Brendan Todd the past 2 weeks and he fucking sucks? Then I get rid of him and now he's back to being the Todd father again. 2000 Woods, a.k.a. Brendan Todd when he's playing well. Streelman's the guy who's gaining like all the strokes putting is Brendan Steele. 7.5 strokes putting. Second on approach. Like if somehow he figures that approach and just has another like miraculous round with his putter, he could go really low tomorrow. The best 2 guys who are inside minus 11, T12 are Hovland and Stanley in terms of ball striking, 8 and 6.6. So if those guys just catch a hot putter, they could go. And we saw that Kazire lost on round 3, but he's overall plus for the tournament. Maybe figure this out a little bit, keep the irons up, get back to how you were putting earlier. He could go on a run. Bryson's putting again this week. It feels like the time is coming for Bryson, and just kind of hope it's not next week. After withdrawing last week, he has the hot putter going. He's also someone to look at next week, but I think his odds will be, he's usually actually undervalued, so maybe not when it comes to him. Mac Hughes can just go away. You take your terrible approaches and get out of here, Mac Hughes. I have no Mac Hughes. I know he's Canadian. good fella, sponsored by the Score Shoutout EP, Eric Patterson. But I prefer he not win. I just prefer Dustin Johnson win at this point. Where's my guy Sung Yul No? He's been just positive across the board. Not great at any one thing. He's draining a bunch of putts, but he's there. A good POA putter as well. I recall that from a few years ago once he returned from his military service in South Korea. Like, the guy was good. I believe he won at Zurich, which was a Pete Dye course, and he won in the Corn Ferry Tour. I can't remember if that was a Dye course or not either. One of these weeks, it's going to happen for Abraham Ancer. He's driving the ball much more poorly than he had been in the past, but the approach is sticking on. DJ really needs to take advantage of his driver. If he can have like a vintage Dustin driving round on Sunday, that can mitigate some of the damage if he doesn't really show up in approach. The last 2 times I remember Dustin playing in the final grouping was last year at Heritage. I believe he shot 77, and he was in the final group at Valspar earlier that year when Paul Casey beat Kokrak, and he had a really bad round then too. We've seen him get beat by Ted Potter Jr. Now, it's a double-edged sword. It's like the people who say, oh, Rory never shows up. Rory gags everything away. Well, Rory's there every single week. Dustin Johnson's someone who plays in a lot of final groups, so you have a lot of history with Dustin Johnson, and you forget all the times that he wins playing out of the final group. You just tend to remember the ones when he loses. So, I don't know if they're playing in threesomes again tomorrow. It might be back to the pairs, but maybe you can get into, like, when Todd won his 2 tournaments earlier this year at Bermuda and the OHL, and then he was 4th at RSM. He was through a really hot run, obviously, but he wasn't going up against Dustin Johnson. I'm not going to lie to you. Who did he beat? He beat Higgs, Gay, Scheffler, Lebioda, who made the cut this week. Almost made a hole-in-one on that short par 4 today. Wise, Gomez, David Hearn. Like, all right. At RSM, Webb was in that mix, and T. Dunks beat him in the playoff. Munoz popped up, but it's Norlander, Scheffler, K.H. Lee, Norin, Harmon, Scott Brown, J.T. Poston. Like, that's who you're beating there. I already looked at that one. Where was the other one here? Oh, Higgs. Did Higgs has come second to Brendan Todd twice? Did I open up the wrong one? Bermuda Championship? Oh, yeah, I opened up the same one twice. I'm an idiot. Let's look at the OHL and see how that goes. Todd beats Long, Ortiz, Von Taylor, Harris English, Damon, Ancer, Perez, Horschel. He's not beating luminaries out there. Dustin Johnson's in a class by his own. That's why I was so surprised with a lot of people saying, do I hedge Dustin Johnson? Like, when you look at the leaderboard, yeah, you should be, like I said, you should be scared of Bryson. You should be scared of Rory and be scared of Todd. He's winning by 2 strokes, obviously. But he's the best player who's within the top 5 right now. I guess Bryson is better than Dustin right now, but he's a former world number 1. Like, he's still Dustin Johnson. Maybe he's not peak Dustin, but if Dustin wins this event, watch out, because he tends to go on runs once everything starts clicking for him. And I think Southwind is coming up. Of course, he's won at in the past when he won St. Jude, but the walk-off eagle on 18 over Andrew Putnam. So let's go back to this live leaderboard. So I've kind of gone through everyone. I think Showdown-wise, if we just go back at round 3, I'll throw this on as a kicker. I don't know when everyone's going to be watching this, but we can kind of target the guys who are shitty putters today. Like, if we can just get a decent amount of ball striking out of Henley again, he should rebound. Sergio should rebound. Like, Sergio really did save. He shot even, and he was good around the greens, put it that way. Who else? Approach-wise, if we just sort by ball striking. Let's take a look at that and who lost strokes. Varner should be all right tomorrow, but he's probably too far out of it to get you any placement points. Of the guys at the top of the leaderboard who could storm, let's see. Kazire could be really sneaky. He could also play like shit because he's Patton Kazire. Sung Yul No did pretty well. He could stand to gain a few more strokes. Phil was just bad today. Maybe he just veteran-savvy rebounds it tomorrow. We can see about that. Hovland should be someone who's pretty up there. Kevin Na, though, generally when he putts well, he keeps putting well, and he's driving the ball really well. And anytime he drives the ball well, he tends to end up very high on the leaderboard. So when you get those placement points in Sunday Showdown for DraftKings, that's always something to look at. So I hope that was informative. And, it wasn't a complete waste of your time. So you're seeing what I'm seeing as my first look and initial research for the week. Again, smash the like to the episode in the comment section. Give me your early leans. My early leans, Reed and Hovland, and now Ryan Moore are the ones that are popping up when I come back with Feinberg on Monday. I should have that whittled down a little bit more. DraftKings on Tuesday. No live chat this week on Wednesday. Maybe I'll do a Q&A if I'm, out around, and you guys do have some questions about that. But I probably will be giving out the Millionaire Maker tickets again for that draw on Wednesday, so stay tuned to the PME Twitter account. And please leave the review for the show, spread the show around, tell some friends. That's the one nice thing about betting over DraftKings is that in betting, if we win, we all win. Only one of us can win on DraftKings. It's never me, so it's probably going to be one of you guys. But let's go, DJ. Let's see if we can cash this ticket. That would make it 4 and 5 weeks. It would be 5 and 6 weeks, or tournaments, sorry, not weeks. 5 and 6 tournaments for old Mr. Feinberg. So that would be really nice to see coming down. Maybe I can just win a whole bunch of money on UFC tonight, and that would just be glorious. Anyway, I will be back on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Those fantasy football shows are coming out for something to get you around. And we're going to release the Cuss Corner next week, like I said, Thursday or Friday. I know it's a long weekend for you guys coming up in America, so nothing better than a 4th of July Cuss Corner to get you through and kill the time when you want to get away from your fucking family. Trust me, I know all about this stuff. Not so much right now because of the pandemic, but normally during holidays, I want to get as far fucking away from my family as possible. In hours, I can put in the FaceTime. After that, it's like, yeah, I got to go, all right? All right, see ya. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Use fantasynational.com/Mayo for 20% off. Play in the PNB Open. Link in the description of this video and podcast. I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!